My name is Seth Anderson, and I serve as director of the John C. Culver Public Policy Center here at Simpson College. We are pleased to co-sponsor this forum with the Indianola chapter of the American Association of University Women, or AAUW, represented tonight by Margaret Vernon and several others in the audience. Thank you to Margaret. Kathy Ferris also helped to plan this program. She's unfortunately exiled to Florida right now, enjoying that weather, so she couldn't be with us tonight. But we are videotaping the program, so she'll be able to see it. The Culver Center, as some of you may know, is a nonpartisan public policy center that was founded in 2010 to honor the work and legacy of Senator John C. Culver, who served Iowa in the U.S. House of Representatives and the United States Senate from 1965 to 1981. The Culver Center sponsors a broad range of programs that are designed to engage Simpson College students and the broader community in respectful dialogue about challenging public policy issues. The core of the Culver Center is the Culver Fellows Program, which engages Simpson students in leadership roles. I'd like to ask the Culver Fellows in attendance tonight to stand and be recognized. They're also listed on the back of your program. And if you didn't get a chance to grab a program on your way in, there are some on the table. I'm also happy to bring them over to you. Our goal for tonight's forum is to facilitate a wide-ranging discussion on important policy and budgeting decisions that will shape Iowa's K-12 education system. Our first panel of state legislators will be moderated by Mackenzie Ryan, statewide education reporter for the Des Moines Register. The first panel will last until about 7:45, at which time we will move over to our second panel, which will be a discussion among educators and school administrators, to be moderated by Professor Barb Ramos, chair of the education department at Simpson. We will reserve some time at the end of each panel for questions from the audience. We have some handheld mics that I will bring around. I'm pleased now to turn the floor over to Mackenzie Ryan of the Des Moines Register for our first panel discussion.
Great, thank you. I'm happy to be here, and I hope we're going to have a great discussion, so thanks for coming. I wanted to introduce our lawmakers. I'm happy to have both Republicans and Democrats joining us for the discussion. We have Senator Julian B. Garrett. He represents Indianola, Senate District 13. He's on the Appropriations Committee, a ranking member of the Government Oversight Committee, on the Human Resources, as well as the Judiciary Committees. Senator Herman Kornbach represents Ames, Senate District 23. He's chair of the Education Committee. He's also on the Judiciary, Local Government, Transportation, and Ways and Means Committees. Representative Ron Jorgensen represents Sioux City. Thanks for traveling all this way. House District 6. He's chair of the Education Committee, Economic Growth, Ethics, vice chair of the Ethics Committee, as well as the Labor Committee. And Representative Scott Orth from House District 26. He represents Antwerp. He's on the Agriculture, Commerce, and Natural Resources Committee. So thank you, gentlemen, for being here. I wanted to jump right into the deep end with a question. And just to remind our panelists, we're going to limit responses to 2 minutes. We have volunteer students who are holding up time cards, and rebuttals to 30 seconds. So there's been a lot of talk in education about the term adequate. What is adequate education funding? Right now, there's a difference as far as the school aid formula. Should there be 2% increase or 4% increase? And there's even differences among the education community when they talk about priorities and when they're asking legislators for funding. In Des Moines, for example, they want increased funding for English language learners as well as preschool. Davenport is looking at changing the school aid formula that would put them on par with their neighbors. There's a 3% difference there. As well as in rural Iowa, there are some school districts who are spending a lot more money on transportation costs. We're not even talking field trips, but just busing kids to and from school. Some districts are spending as small as $31 per kid, and some as much as $1,000 or more per student to bus them to school. So how do you prioritize and decide with the budget realities how to go forward? Yeah, we can just open it up. Whoever wants to jump in.
Well, first of all, I have a handout over here. I wonder if we could get it. May not have enough for everybody, but yeah, he's got it. Thank you. Prioritization, of course, is a big issue, big problem. I thought I would start by just describing a little difference of opinion among legislators as far as budgeting is concerned. I've been on the Appropriations Committee every year I've been in the legislature, and during that time I've seen a difference. And here's the basic difference. We have two funding sources, basically. We have what we call ongoing revenue, which is the amount of money that the state is anticipated to bring in during the fiscal year. And then we have what we call available revenue. And available revenue is the amount of money that we anticipate bringing in plus our surplus, or money that, our savings, money we've had left over from other years. And 3 or 4 years ago, we actually had surpluses here in the state. We brought in more money than we spent, and we built up quite a balance. The last couple of years, we've been spending a little more than we've been taking in, and we've been spending down that balance. Now, my outlook is that we should not spend more than we are taking in. And that's been kind of a general philosophy among most of the Republicans in the legislature. On the other hand, the Democrats look at it a little differently. They feel like it's okay to spend not only the incoming revenue, but whatever there is in surplus too, our savings account. And I see my time is up. So, but anyway, that's a little difference in philosophy among the two parties. Thank you.
How do we determine priorities? I think the my guiding principle on this is greatest good for the greatest number. And that brings us to allowable growth. That is the main portion of school funding. It's done on a per pupil basis. Every pupil in every district benefits from it. It's general fund dollars as far as the local school districts are concerned, so they can use it for whatever is their highest and most pressing need. According to the law, the legislature is supposed to pass an allowable growth bill, an allowed per pupil increase within the first 30 days of the session. We're supposed to do that for the school year a year and a half ahead. So this year, for example, we're supposed to pass the allowable growth for the 2017-18 school year. The Senate did that this last week. We passed a 4% allowable growth number. That is something that we do a year ahead, first of all, so school districts can plan, so they can get the best value for the dollars. And we do that before we do other budget items because, at least according to my value system, education comes first. Our kids' education comes first. And for each of the last 5 years, the Senate has passed an allowable growth bill within the first 30 days on time as required by the law. The House, I'm afraid I have to report, has not. They have been missing in action 5 years in a row, haven't met the deadline at all. They may not tell you this, but my mother always said, actions speak louder than words. For the Senate, kids' education is our first priority. Is it adequate? No. Just historical context of the last 5 years, adjusted for inflation, the sum total increase, 5 years, cumulative increase, $6 per kid. That's it. 0.1% after inflation. Over 5 years. Not even close to being adequate to meet the needs for kids who need computers, for STEM education and science equipment, and well, all the whole long list of things which we should go into on the next question.
And our House members are up next, so. Representative Orth, would you like to take that?
Thank you. I take a partnership approach on this whole entire thing, and I think when you're elected to the state legislature, you're elected to do two things. You're elected to represent, and you're elected to lead. And, so, and I take both of those roles very seriously. We sent out a survey to school board administrators. This administrator from Southeast Warren, Galvin's back there, and Art Sadoff, all 4 of them in my district responded to it. 257 responses. Out of those 257 responses, 9 out of 10 said 4% allowable growth was the lowest they could possibly go and still manage their schools in a way that wouldn't kick them over to allowable growth. Now, or to budget guarantee. Now, I don't know if all of you know what budget guarantee means, but what that means is, in the law, if schools are not given their funding state supplemental aid numbers in a timely fashion, or if they're not given those numbers at all, they have to go on what's called budget guarantee, which means they have to raise local property taxes to guarantee enough money to fund the budget for running their schools. So we have a lot of talk about not raising taxes. We're not going to raise taxes. The state legislature is not going to raise your taxes. But when we don't set allowable growth on time, and I'm in the 4% crowd, and I'm the guy that from my caucus in the Iowa House that sent 4% over, and it was turned down, of course. But there are 167 school districts right now that have had to raise their taxes because they've had to go on budget guarantee because they haven't been given adequate state supplemental aid, or they haven't been given any at all. And I find that to be fundamentally wrong, and I'm going to fight until we get this right.